The Cipher Brief, because national security is everyone's business.
I want to welcome Jeff Brown, who is Vice President of Global Intelligence Platforms at Recorded Future. Jeff is also the former Chief Information Security Officer for the City of New York, when he served in that role from 2016 to 2022. And Jeff, I just want to kind of get top of mind real quick from you on these public-private partnerships and how you're seeing things from your perspective. Thank you for being here.
So thank you, Suzanne. And I think the timing couldn't be more perfect, sort of following the remarks of the previous session. Really, I wrote it right down so it's fresh off at least the page in front of me, government convening so that resilience can be achieved through partnership. What an absolutely tremendous theme. And I would have liked to have ceded my time, in fact, so that we could have heard more from the participants to answer Kelly's question about the future. It's incredibly important. So, to a certain extent, I have some remarks I hope complement that theme. And first and foremost, I just want to always say it's an honor to be invited by Suzanne and Brad to speak to the Cipher Brief community. And really, amongst all the important topics in today's virtual summit, I invite you to consider this brief moment like the virtual equivalent of a conversation we might have had when we're all together physically. There's always a common moment when we're seeking some coffee and chatting while waiting for the refill. And today, getting a refill before General Alexander joins us. So in that short interaction, maybe you'd ask a highlight of what I've learned since I left public service a year ago and joined Recorded Future, the largest pure play private intelligence company in the world. There have certainly been a lot of lessons for me, yet as I think about the last year, the one I thought to highlight today is about our community's potential. We just heard about that potential, and here's my simple thoughts. A common expression is that the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. I heard that expression many times when I was looking at private sector opportunities, and I've heard that same expression said about the public sector since joining the private sector again. In fact, I've told people in the public sector, probably some people listening today, just how fantastic public sector roles truly are. But considering the onslaught of convergent threats in 2022, we might all be tempted to say that the grass is simply brown and patchy everywhere. Maybe the benefit of doing this virtually is that I don't know if that made you laugh, but I hope I got your attention. What does this have to do with private-public partnership? I'd say the grass can be greener everywhere we look, and the physical fences that separate properties is as arbitrary in the health of the underlying interconnected dirt and grasses as the barriers could be that exist between public and private sectors in the defense of the interconnected digital ecosystem. By example, in the last year, I've had the opportunity to represent Recorded Future alongside many industry players to volunteer capabilities, technologies, and services in the support of Ukraine's cyber defense. That's an effort that demonstrates that private industry, putting aside traditional competitive incentives for a very specific moment and circumstance, can together have a real impact in keeping digital services safer. And I admire and am grateful for the tremendous work of the public sector and the colleagues therein from the US, from allies, from organizations like NATO that have had incredible impact for Ukraine and continue each day to do so. Ukraine teaches us that with the galvanizing calls and the rallying cry, be brave, as we've all heard them say, the private and public sectors can come together and field critical results together in the health and safety of digital properties. Are there improvements needed in mechanisms to make the process sustainable and repeatable? Yes, especially with thinking about applying them in new and different circumstances. And it's good that those efforts and thinking are active and underway. This is where we can take a big leap forward in the mechanisms for public and private cybersecurity work moving forward, especially to meet the convergence of threats that we'll see in other venues. In a public discussion earlier today, Patty McGuinness, former UK Deputy National Security Advisor, highlighted that we must fight our monofocal understanding, stemming from monofocal roles and responsibilities to contend with the reality that our business and government functions are themselves the attack surface. And their resilience, I might add, depends on a multi-stakeholder approach. And Andrew Boreen, Associate Vice President for Research at the ODNI's National Intelligence University, in the same conversation, highlighted the lessons from NIU research and his own experience that common floorboards and swivel chair access can help deliver on the need for shared situational awareness. He described that this is necessary to provide the widest possible lines of sight needed to deal with threat convergence. We know that the convergence of threats themselves operate with the most expedient vectors for both digital and physical consequence. The consequence could be financial gain, it could be sowing discord, it could be degrading critical services. Whatever the most expedient means to reach the desired outcomes is how our adversaries play. So it's our work to foster convergence of capabilities that becomes essential. Through the digital space itself, I'd offer the possibility of common access to shared situational awareness, a common intelligence picture, is well within our grasp to implement and operate. We all heard this year Director Inglis's call, which was heard many times today, to merge capabilities across the private and public sectors with the goal, to paraphrase the director, that cyber adversaries would need to be all of us to be one of us, to create a partnership where they can't pick us off one at a time. To be a truly great team, though, we have in front of us all the very hard work of aligning on the playing field. The private sector cannot be beaten with its ability to innovate and execute at great speed, to use the power of the markets as a furnace of innovation that can deliver the common floorboards and swivel chair capacity, and can, when needed at machine speed, stymie the adversary's digital reach. And the public sector cannot be beaten in its ability to use the capabilities that should only belong to governments to execute powerful movements. For instance, collecting the type of intelligence that can only be gathered using government sources and methods, creating legislation, regulation, fostering legal frameworks for private-public collaboration, issuing sanctions, creating and convening international government coalitions, or when needed, exercising law enforcement and military activities. In that framework, with everyone operating on the field to the best capability of their position, being prepared if needed for interoperability, private and public sectors together can have the highest order of effect. So to reply to the notion that the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence, I'd offer over this virtual coffee chat that we have in this moment that the grass can be greener on both sides, or brown on both, to be frank. It's obviously directly interconnected. I'm not quite saying the answer is to take down the fence. I'm not quite saying that. I'm encouraged so much in this previous year that so many are operating with the recognition that we all share in the outcomes themselves, though, our neighborhood's health, safety, and well-being. So thank you again to Suzanne and Brad for inviting me today. And I hope for everyone to find peaceful moments during this holiday season, even on that always dangerous Friday afternoon. I also encourage for us all great expectations for the work together in 2023. Back to you, Suzanne.
Jeff, thank you so much. Jeff is Vice President of Global Intelligence Platforms at Recorded Future, and I think that phrase, a very honest phrase, to be honest, of Brown and Patchy is going to stick with me for the rest of the day. Jeff, thanks so much for being here for this coffee break. We appreciate it.